Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. Tell me what if Luffy had three devil fruits? Now, if you're not caught up in One Piece anime or manga, this is a spoiler. So, Luffy's devil fruit, that we know as the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which I think is an actual translation error, believe it or not, is technically a Zoan devil fruit that is called the Hito no Mi model Sun God Nika, or human fruit Sun God Nika. But I'll be giving Luffy an actual Paramecia and Logia. Now, the Logia is not canon, but it is a used fruit, as it's used from the One Piece live show, not the Netflix live action show, but like in Japan, they do these plays and they include their own characters with certain devil fruits. I'm including a Logia devil fruit from those live actions. This fruit is called the Zuma no Mi, which is the plasma fruit. And Paramecia is something that I got because I thought of a devil fruit like, hey, what's a fruit that so resembles the sun? As there's plasma in the sun, there's a lot of things in the sun. But I decided to go with raw nuclear power, which actually, nothing about it is very similar to Firestorm, Cosmic Fury Gato, what else? Captain Atom. Nika Sonic Teenage Warhead is just psychic powers, but she still uses some more nuclear abilities. What else? Danny Phantom has his blast that's green. I think that counts as nuclear fission. Blue Marvel. What else? That's all I can think of, actually. There's more, I know it, but that's all I can think of. But yeah. Now, I'm actually going to the story pretty much goes the exact same as canon until it comes down to, like, probably just Luffy eats three fruits. The way he eats three fruits is probably just like, oh, he has three fruits in one giant chest. And Luffy just opens it and just gorges himself on the food. Now, Shanks doesn't notice this. Look at Luffy, who has a devil fruit in his mouth, and then just falls over. And just looks in the treasure chest, actually caught the fruit Luffy took a bite out of, and realized that Luffy ate two whole ones and took a bite out of this one. Luffy would say a few words before he faints. Those fruits taste like trash. And then he faints. Then Shanks is thinking Luffy's gonna die, but then quickly he realized that Luffy just actually fell asleep. And I'm just confused. He's like, I'm pretty sure common knowledge that everyone dies when you eat three fruits, or eat two or more fruits. Even when just like he's heard people trying it and they died. He doesn't know if they explode or not, but we kind of move Luffy to like a safe part of the town. And in the meantime, while Luffy waits and survives, Shanks puts his hat on Luffy and his chest and just has like a note on it, or in the band of the hat that says, "You survived. You're strong." Luffy finally wakes up as Shanks is leaving, and they're already out at sea. And so Shanks can't really give Luffy the hat. What Luffy does is pull it over his eye because he doesn't want Shanks to see him cry. And Shanks just yells from like the boat, "You survived eating three fruits. This shows how incredible you are." And he then tells Luffy that because he has the ability to handle three fruits and has such great power, he should use that power to change the world. He doesn't need to be a pirate, doesn't need to be a marine, doesn't need to be a bandit. He just needs to be someone who will change the world the way he wants to. Shanks would give Luffy like change it for the better, but no, Luffy's a pure-hearted soul, so Shanks says change it in the way you want to. So Luffy's goal is no longer to be a pirate; is to simply just change the world in the way he would want to. So yeah. Oops. Oh, all right. So if you guys wondering about Shanks' arm, I'll say he's still to lose it. Like, Higamon's crew starts a fight. They say they burn down Makino's bar or something. So Shanks would arrive. He fights Higamon's bandit troop. Higamo tries to escape at sea. Shanks chases him. Shanks kills him. Sea King still takes his arm. That's kind of how it goes. Now, Luffy spent a bit of time training. Luckily, he realized how destructive his abilities are after he blew up just a gigantic portion of not Fuchsia Village, but of like Dawn Island. It's an abandoned part. Luffy realized how dangerous he is. Immediately, he looked at a map. And he says he doesn't want to train here because it's too dangerous. Immediately, Makino's like, where are we going to go? Luffy finds an island on the map saying, why not here? It's called the Island of Sixes. It's supposedly remote. According to here, this says there's no life. But it's plants and stuff. And with this, the villagers don't want to see Luffy go, but they do acknowledge he's very dangerous to be on the island. So they send Luffy there, but they do Makino or Whoop Slap sailing there, giving him food from time to time. Luffy doesn't want a devil fruit there, but he doesn't eat it. He must just puts it in his bag and keeps it. As Luffy is basically just, training on this island, after about 3 months, he would get a surprise visitor from his grandpa on a giant marine vessel with 2 boys on there. Garp goes, "Hey, Luffy." Luffy immediately looks up at Garp saying, "Oh, Grandpa, you're here." Oops. Probably had this. But Garp's like, "Yeah, Luffy, what are you doing here? Makino didn't give me all the details." He goes, "Oh, I'm kind of just dangerous for Fuchsia." Garp says, "How dangerous?" He holds out his hand and immediately just lets out a giant blast that blows apart a giant mountain, or a giant just hill on the island to 6s. Garp's jaw drops and says, "I don't know if there's no fruit that can do that." He goes, "Oh, I ate 3. Immediately everyone on Garp's ship just yells, "What?" Including Garp himself. Garp immediately runs to Luffy saying, "Show me everything." He shows off the ability to stretch, and that was like his Gomu techniques, as he just shows off how physically strong he is now. And then he shows off his Logia ability, Zuma no Mi. It basically just creates a giant orb of plasma that's electrical, but also it can burn through stone. Like, it basically just burns through it rapidly. And he shows that off to Garp. And then he shows off the Paramecia ability, the Saji no Mi. Not Sanji, Saji. It's kind of combining the kanji for 31, because pretty sure the raw nuclear energy was just discovered or known about more in full detail in 1931. And then 1951 is, I think, is nuclear fusion. But overall nuclear energy is 1931. I put 31, and then I kind of combined the kanji for each part of it. So pretty sure it's like something ichi, because 1 is ichi. I forgot what 30 is. But the kanji for 30 and the kanji for 1 put together, Saji. And that's just a nuclear power fruit. So yeah. After Luffy shows off all of his abilities to Garp, well, not all of them. He has one ability he hasn't unlocked yet, because that's probably his strongest ability, which is to create things. Because it's nuclear energy that's basically from the sun, where it kind of clashes and creates things, such as a giant ball of fire, or just plasma and heat. Luffy hasn't really unlocked it yet, but it basically he can create things that weigh as much as he does, which is like, I think it'd be 64 kilograms, 141 pounds, or gets 14.4 grams if you want to use mass. But I'm not doing that because that's very light. But yeah, he's basically an alchemist, so that's very impressive. Also, he can just absorb electric damage, so that's a good thing. Also, condensed heat, and yeah. As you're creaking, that's my chair. But, yeah. Now, Garp is pretty impressed with this and starts to have the boys train with Luffy on this island. They get to know each other pretty well. Eventually, Sabo would even find that giant ship that Ace finds in his light novel, and they decide to just play on it and sleep on there. It was like their usual boat, I guess. But to make sure that the boat didn't fall, because it was like put on a bunch of rocks, Luffy just kind of burns the rock down, and immediately the boat crashes in the water. Make sure to take on water. Luffy just begins evaporating the water by holding his hands in it and burning it down, because he can burn that hot. He can just put his hand in water and evaporate it. So they kind of drain out a giant cavern of water, giving them a giant training space, but also where the boat can rest. So yeah. And Luffy would eventually unlock his alchemy abilities sooner or later. It's Luffy and Sabo. Sabo's a navigator. He said he's okay at navigating. He brings them back and forth between Fuchsia and Goa to go get food, or Fuchsia and Island 6 to get food. And due to them staying there, but also whenever they do go, they do see Blue Jam's crew sometimes. So at some point, Blue Jam's crew would follow them to this island because they think there's treasure. Now they realize that they're just kind of hanging out there and training. Blue Jam demands whatever food they have, and because Blue Jam has, at this point, they're facing I think a 13-year-old Sabo and Ace and a 10-year-old Luffy. Luffy just lets out a giant blast of green energy that destroys Blue Jam's body completely. Which his men get ready to fight, but immediately Ace and Sabo jump in and beat them down pretty quickly. So it was a pretty easy fight on their end. So yeah, they end up taking Blue Jam's ship and keeping it. Blue Jam's crew can take their dinghy to sail away somewhere. But Luffy does grab Blue Jam's giant sail and just alters its appearance to just have the ASL hats. That's it. So yeah. Hold up. So yeah, so with this, eventually they get to Fuchsia, they kind of just go back and forth doing their own thing for a while. So that was never shot down by a celestial dragon, and eventually Garp would arrive again, but to train Sabo, because Ace had found some of Luffy's food, including that devil fruit, and he ate it a year ago. So at this point, Ace ate the fruit when he was 12, and it's been a year since he had it. But then we fast forward to when Ace and Sabo are 17. Ace is still going to be a pirate. Luffy doesn't want to be a marine or a pirate at the point. He just wants to be someone who changes the world, but in his own way, without serving under anyone. So with this, Luffy decides to basically just sail on his own, doing his own thing when he's 17. Sabo becomes a revolutionary. The Sabo has like the same appearance as that he does post time skip, but the scar is from Ace burning him by accident. It was more Sabo trying to get Ace under control while Luffy was asleep, because Ace kind of just ate some food he found in the middle of the night. Sabo was the only one to wake up, and he tried to help Ace control it, and Ace burned his face. Sabo holds no grudge. Ace holds just like he feels bad. But yeah. At this point, due to Garp also training Sabo a lot harder, Sabo would be able to use observation haki pretty effectively and low-level armament haki as well. Luffy and Ace both unlock conquerors to some degree, so they use that. Now, when Luffy's 17, he sails away, and he doesn't use Blue Jam's ship, he uses the boat left behind on Island 6's. Ace doesn't really use any big boats, considering he's going to be by himself. Plus, if you guys are wondering about Master Deuce, Ace and him left eventually, because Master Deuce kind of washed up there while they were training, and then Ace was kind of just there. Master Deuce and Ace were friends, and then they sail away on Ace's new ship that he had built with his brothers, the Striker. So yeah. Now, when Luffy decides to leave, he just lets out a giant blast of pure energy, sending himself flying across the East Blue, but making sure he stays on his boat. So yeah. As Luffy isn't flying, you could find Alabasta probably just the day he set sail and not like a day or two after he gets caught up in a whirlpool. So when he lands, Alabasta just saw a decently sized ship just crash land, and Luffy's ship isn't as big as like the original ship on Island 6 is about half of the size. It's still a pretty big ship. And by the way, this Mary was pretty small compared to actual pirate ship, and this is an actual pirate ship. So I'd say half of it might be as big as the Mary, just taller. So yeah, like in terms of length, it'd be like the same size as the Mary. Height probably a bit bigger. So yeah. But yeah. Now eventually it goes on to Albasta's crew threatening to fire at Luffy, but he just says, "I dare you." Alabasta would immediately just say, "Fire," as he points at Luffy's ship, and cannons being firing at Luffy. But Luffy just smirks as he just blows into his hand, yelling "Gear Third." And he's basically just using his rubber fruit combined with his Logia abilities, basically making his hand a giant, but there's not really bad gonna happen to it. And Luffy just yells "Plasma Fist," or I don't know how to phrase it. Giganto Plasma Fist. And he just kind of uses that, slamming it into Albasta's cannons, immediately melting them, and then slamming his fist in Albasta's ship. Not like he like sends it flying back as he's not trying to go for damage, but he immediately lit it on fire the moment it connected. So yeah, Albasta's ship isn't really hit hard by Luffy, but he does tap it lightly, sending it sliding back a little bit in the ocean. But Albasta would notice that Luffy's fist lit it on fire, and when she does realize this, Luffy had already jumped over to his ship, or from his ship to her ship. He landed, Albasta's crew would slash at him, but Luffy would just use his plasma, and let their attacks hit him, they get electrocuted and burned, or their weapons begin melting. So yeah. Actually, one guy would have used a cannon to hit Luffy in the back with it, and Luffy would have probably very similar abilities to Crocodile, where he can just turn into whatever element he's made of off reflex. Because he was trained by Garp a lot, because Garp didn't want him to kill his brothers. So, yeah. So, as soon as Luffy's hit by this, they realize that they blew Luffy in half. But quickly, Luffy's body would recover, regrowing, grabbing the guy with the face, and throwing him overboard. Eventually, Albasta would use her mallet, or her mace to try to hit Luffy, but he just caught it, and instead of it being metal, he turned it into paper, or paper mache. And Albasta realized her grip kind of crushed the bottom, making the rest of it kind of crinkle down. With this, Albasta's very much destroyed mallet, or mace, just gets her kicked across the East Blue. As Luffy does use explosions to repel his attacks with strength, if he doesn't want to stretch. So, yeah. At this point, I'd probably give Luffy a very similar appearance to how he is, like, I'd say it's usual as in canon, but also because he doesn't want to blow up his clothes, because he does make himself actual clothes, doesn't make them out of his energy from his Logia. He does wear his, like, jacket, usually kind of just open, or his vest open, or just not on. So, yeah. So anything he dresses how he does post-time skip. So, yeah. Now, Kobe still joins Luffy's group for a bit until they get to Shellstown, which I see this arc being very much the same as canon, but not anime canon or manga canon, live action canon. So live action made a lot of islands make sense, except for Kokoyashi. It was an actual village. I didn't want it to be an actual. I wanted it to be a town, not just a bunch of huts. So yeah. But we go on probably just to this arc kind of being the same as the anime, not anime, as live action, until it gets down to I think until it gets down to maybe probably just Luffy freeing Zoro. Zoro mentioned he needs to get his swords. Luffy says, "All right, I'm gonna untie you." Zoro would say, "I don't want you to owe me, or I don't want to owe you." He says, "You won't. Don't worry. I'm doing this for free because you're cool." So as soon as Luffy unties Zoro, he turns the ropes into actual swords. But does it individually, so that just in case their weight may equal what his is, and they'll shatter immediately if they may be his weight. Zoro's actually shocked by this, but he picks up the blades and walks away, thanking Luffy. Luffy and Nami have their usual bickering encounters until Morgan would notice Luffy. Luffy actually does have a bit of arrogance to his power because he's like, no one can beat me, and the idea of someone capturing me does not sit well with me. Even Garp admits he cannot beat Luffy, because if Luffy were to lose control, he'd annihilate an island in one go. Luffy lowballing himself is over country level, because he can annihilate a country immediately because he's a living sun. So yeah. And him with control is a living sun. Without control, he's just a disaster that could annihilate the planet. This way I describe Luffy is probably similar to Yuki Tsukumo in Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a spoiler, but how she has the black hole ability. Luffy he doesn't turn into a black hole, he can, but if he just wants to go all out and destroy the planet, not without turning into a black hole, he very much can. But he can also turn into a black hole. That would just be his death, though. Luffy cannot die without destroying the Earth, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah. And by the One Piece Earth, it's definitely bigger than our Earth by a long shot. So, yeah. But back to the story. Now, we go on probably just to, well, we can probably just go on to maybe, I think when it comes to Morgan finding Luffy and Nami. Morgan doesn't really buy Nami as a Marine, and he doesn't, well, when it comes to Luffy, he doesn't like the idea of being captured by someone so weak such as Nami, or someone like Morgan commanding him. So as soon as Morgan walked around, Luffy immediately jumped and kick off the wall. So like just jumping, he kicked off the wall. And as soon as Morgan realized that Luffy is in the air, Luffy just decks him in the face full force with a Gomu pistol. But then Luffy would put his fist in just flames, and the flames are so hot, and Luffy only aimed for Morgan's jaw, he melted Morgan's jaw all over his body, kind of dousing Morgan in molten steel. But when Morgan's already knocked down, he's not really feeling his body being burned. Luffy just kind of just removes the metal by kind of just melting it and absorbing it. But then he would have Morgan's axe hand and simply just turn it. As what he likes to do is to metal weapons, he turns it into paper mache. Meaning when Morgan would try to hit someone with it, it would just crinkle away. Or crumple up. But yeah. So with this, Luffy and Nami keep going until they get to and probably just till they get to Morgan's office. Luffy doesn't like the idea that it's a wooden door, so he turns it into a steel door. But he says that the steel door won't hold up that long because it's heavier than he is. Nami actually would learn the limitation of Luffy's ability. But then she went safe, Luffy decides to pick it up and measure the weight, saying that's about probably 80 pounds, so he can probably just turn it into something else. And he immediately just turns it into, just paper. Then he drops it into a fish tank Morgan probably has like a fish tank or did Mushi or whatever, because some snails can be in the water, but yeah. Luffy just dropped the now metal, or the now paper, safe in the water, and immediately it just goes away. Luffy got back to the Grand Line, and immediately Nami tries to get it from him, but he just puts it in his mouth, as his body is just kind of intangible, he can just reach into his chest and grab it. But yeah. Nami's in shock by this, but he just jumps out the window, as he hears Morgan pounding on the door, and the door begins cracking after like 5 pounds. After Morgan pounded on it 5 times. Nami follows him, and as soon as Luffy landed, he caught Nami. Zoro's already walking out, and he's like asking Luffy what he's going to do now. Luffy notices Zoro's swords, and Zoro says he's keeping Luffy's 3, but in kind of just sort of the bag, saying those are going to be his backup blades. And he's like, alright, you do you. So, yeah. Luffy decides to run to his boat, and Zoro actually notices it's actually a legitimate pirate ship. And then she tells Nami he's going to keep going with her because if he leaves her here, she's going to be captured. And she's like, alright, can't argue with that, let's go. Luffy just gives Nami a lift onto his boat, And she wouldn't take off by herself, and she realized that Luffy's boat is not meant for sailing. And she's like, how do you sail this thing? Luffy tells her he doesn't know, but he holds it to Zoro as he stretches it down. He's like, oh, I'll show how to sail it later. And Luffy stretches his hand out to Zoro, asking if he wants to join him. Zoro decides that he'd prefer not to be arrested, so he climbs up Luffy's arm, and Luffy would do the same to Kobe, but Helmeppo would arrive shortly before Kobe. But when Kobe does arrive, he knocks out Helmeppo. So with this, Luffy says goodbye to Kobe. Luffy and Kobe they say their goodbyes. And Nami's like, alright, how do we sail this now? He goes, alright, well first, you need to just do this. And Luffy just uses a gigantic blast to send himself flying, or send the ship flying. You know, Nami calls him insane for doing that, but he just tells her, hold on to something. She holds on to the mast, as does Zoro. Luffy's kind of just standing there, as he says, as he wouldn't really fall, his feet are kind of just embedded. So yeah, as he does use plasma to kind of just shoot himself into the ground and kind of use it as like spikes. So yeah. Now we can actually ask Luffy, how do you really sail this thing? He says he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to sail. And he says he can remove everything that requires sailing. If he can install it again, it'd just be tedious. Not tedious. He just says it'd just be annoying to reinstall. So yeah, Luffy's a bit smarter because well, his power involved him creating things out of nothing. So Garp had to make sure he was smart, or else he'd create something dangerous. But yeah. So Nami and Zoro not wanting to blast to the area, nor Nami not wanting to, Zoro not really caring. Luffy would kind of recreate the ability to sail on this boat. So yeah. But now at this point on their first blast, they were already halfway to Orangetown. So after about 3-4 hours, they get to Orangetown. And Luffy's in those 3-4 hours rebuilding their ship to sail properly. By the time they dock, Buggy should already saw them, but then by the time they're close enough, they fire a buggy ball at them. But Luffy pretty easily looks at it, turns his hand massive, and just catches it. Now, Buggy at this point also like say it's the typical live action Buggy, because I do like this Buggy. It's an actual clown pirate who'd be terrifying, but it's also kind of a fraud. And then we'd have just that, but yeah. Luffy throws buggy ball back at the crew on top of the building where all the villagers are held. Luffy doesn't aim for the actual building, or doesn't aim for the crew. He aims for the building to crumble it away. But Luffy would jump in to save the villagers once he realizes there's people in the tent. So before they all hit the ground, Luffy turns his hands massive using Gear Third, but also just to enhance his size with rubber. Well, Gear Third for rubber. And then he uses the Zuma Nami to make his arms bigger, catching everyone who fell. Buggy's crew included, but Luffy pretty easily drains them out. And the villagers all run to safety while Luffy and Zoro and Nami face down Buggy's crew. So yeah. Nami's in help because she's surprised that Luffy would be a good guy and help someone, especially that many people. And by the time that they finish beating Buggy's crew down, because Buggy didn't really land a single hit on Luffy, that was effective at least, Luffy just crushes Buggy in a few strikes. Zoro already cut down Kabaji, and the crew is done for pretty quickly. Even the villagers offer to pay Luffy money, like whatever money they have left. Luffy says, no, he kind of just wants some sake and meat. They give him enough sake and meat to last the day. Zoro takes the sake. Luffy takes the meat, and they leave. They just give Nami a sandwich because she didn't ask for anything. So yeah. But it's the other way. Buggy's body is as what happened in live action, but yeah. But yeah. Now with this, Zoro, Luffy, and Nami, they head to Sword Village, and Luffy says he wants to be here because he wants to go here because he wants to fix their ship up a little bit, making sure that it's a proper sailing vessel. So yeah. Now after this arc's probably the same as the live action, and then I'm probably gonna go on to maybe just when it came to Kuro trying to kill Zoro, as I see that being different. When Kuro would attempt to kill Zoro, first when he tries to, Zoro already trained a bit harder because Luffy does encourage Zoro to train with him a little bit. Luffy does train a lot to make sure he never loses control. Zoro joins him, and Zoro's pretty easily able to react to Kuro's attacks, allowing him that Luffy attacks faster. It allows him to cut down Kuro in one fell swoop once Kuro reacted too slow at one point. With Kuro being cut down in one strike, it goes on to Chairman Buchi ambushing Zoro, which leads to a lot of ruckus. Now, Zoro isn't using swords because he used swords on Kuro, but Chairman Buchi's not using swords because they're not really worth his swords in his opinion. He's just using a sheath and just walking and deflecting all their strikes. This leads to Kaya, Zoro, Nami, or Kaya, Luffy, Usopp, and Kaya, Nami, Luffy, and Usopp going outside to see what's going on. The Marines even go out back to see what's going on, and immediately Helippo would recognize Kuro, and then Bucci, and he yells, "Yeah, those are Black Cat pirates." As Usopp already said who it was, they didn't believe him, all that. But now they fully believe him, and immediately Bucci like, "Oh wait, we're caught." Let's say Bogart or whatever would jump in, cut down Bucci in one fell swoop, and arrest them, and arrest Kuro. It was painfully pretty tired, but he does admit it was a fun fight. We give Zoro a high five. Kaya is surprised that Usopp is telling the truth. The Marines are shocked that Usopp is telling the truth as well. But Luffy's ship also kind of just has Jolly Roger reverted back to a normal ship. Luffy uses a pirate flag now because, simply put, he's kind of just living vicariously through his younger self. Because his younger self has the most freedom, but this Luffy has the most responsibility. So, yeah. His responsibility is not to destroy the planet. So, yeah. So, it's a pretty easy responsibility to not have, but also still a tedious one. Kid Luffy just wanted to be a pirate with no consequences. So, yeah. Now, with this, they eventually leave with Usopp, and the ship, the Mary, they don't take it with them, but in fact, Usopp says, it's kind of not really fully put together, give them a few hours. And because they arrived here early, if that few hours result in them going at the cannon time, they originally leave, so they're about a day or two early. They put whatever parts of the Mary that they can on the new ship that Luffy has. He hasn't really named it, but this includes the ram head. And when by the time they're done, Luffy had used his radiation to make it go by faster, or not radiation, his alchemy basically to make it go by faster. The ship is a lot bigger, being the same size as the Sunny. So yeah, with this they sail away, and they wave goodbye. Everyone having their own room and kind of whatever they want in it with Luffy's help. Now, we go on probably just to now the Brate, which I'm pretty sure like the live action. The same arc is canon, and I'd say it's different when it comes to Luffy's injury, or not Luffy, Zoro's injury. Luffy doesn't really want to he can cauterize Zoro's wound, but he doesn't want to use the easiest way to do it is Paramecia over. He would use his Logia, the plasma fruit, to basically just seal Zoro's wound shut. As if, why don't you just seal it away, seal it off, or burn it shut permanently, or cauterize it permanently. He was like, because if I do get enough radiation in his body, he will die of illness. And it's the best way I can do it without it killing him slowly. With Nami, not Nami. Zeph would attach to the fish skin as usual, and Luffy kind of burns out his Zoro's body so it can do its usual stuff. But yeah, other than that, I'd say this arc is not different from live action in any way, in my opinion. Except the fact that Arlong should attack here. I want to keep Arlong at Fishman Island, as I like his Kingpin aesthetic, but also with how Arlong is, I think he'd be too lazy to go out and chase Luffy. So, in my opinion, he'd be lazy to do that, so the Kokoyashi arc is the same as the anime, and we even have Johnny and Yosuke. So yeah, because Johnny and Yosuke were very sad part to miss out on. So yeah, but also Zoro would give them, 2 actual swords, telling them, those blades are not meant for fighting such dangerous opponents, these are. So Zoro would use 2 of the 3 blades that Luffy gave him. And Johnny and Yosuke would use these blades pretty effectively, cutting down any fishermen in their path. Zoro would have this typical fight against Hachi due to him being in better health. A lot faster, actually, because Luffy burned his wound shut immediately. So, yeah. Plus, he gave Zoro actual bandages after the fish stuff, so. Yeah, Zoro had to actual fight against Hachi. Where first, Zoro could have literally every fishman, fought Arlong, pushed Arlong back pretty decently, which allowed Zoro to actually retreat, never actually losing. So when it came to Zoro fighting Hachi, he beat Hachi pretty effectively. Johnny and Yosuke blew over once to help Usopp fight Chu, and they really wounded him, allowing Usopp to still blow him up. Then, Nami having a lot more confidence and still in her captain, because he's basically God, he would pretty easily just beat Arlong to a pulp without using much effort, just raw martial arts skill. And eventually, his phone blow against Arlong, it was just an energy blast of just condensed flames. Or energy that turns into flames as they hit Arlong. And we see Arlong basically just look like a charred body. So, yeah, Arlong's charred. Alright. So, we would have Arlong being charred up by Luffy's flames, or just energy and flames. And then they leave. There's also villagers in this one actually did like Nami, because they knew her sacrifice. I don't know why they didn't do that in live action, but that's my only complaint, honestly. Plus, Garp being there too much, but yeah. Then Logtown, which I see this arc honestly just being Smoker being dogged by Luffy 90% of the time. Luffy's observation haki being able to catch him off guard because Luffy would know haki to Garp always training him, and Luffy knowing haki would be very good control over his mind as well. So haki plus action plus firepower plus first of all he can stretch, which would make Smoker off guard to not off guard but catch Smoker off, make Smoker just need to just poof temporarily. But then his Logia ability not allowing him to be hit because he does it off reflex. And then his Paramecia ability of just nuclear power, just energy or flames, or anything really. Smoker can't really counter that, so really Luffy can basically push Smoker back in any way possible. So yeah. Zoro meets Saji, he also meets Ippomatsu, and these are actually out wanting money for swords. Well, this one he doesn't ask Nami for money, and she just offers to sell the 3 swords. Because he needs 2 more blades, because Mihawk broke 2 of his swords. So yeah. I kind of realized I didn't mention something I should have mentioned earlier. Zoro's 2 swords were still broken in his Mihawk, and he gave Johnny Yosuke 2 swords. He's using their 2 swords because their swords plus their scales are not strong enough to cut through fishmen. These 2 swords are really strong. They can cut through fishmen. Zoro takes their swords because in his hands he can cut through fishmen. So, yeah, pretty simple. Zoro ends up taking their weaker blades because they're strong in his hands. He gave them strong swords to make them stronger. So, yeah. Now Zoro has 2 actual swords. He has 3 swords that are his own, and he sells them to Ippomatsu because they're probably high quality, which gave him enough money to buy the 2 swords he wanted. So, yeah, Nami actually asked him, how did you get the money for those swords? She thinks he stole from her, but she didn't lose any money besides the money she spent, and Zoro mentions he sold the swords that Luffy gave him, which Luffy didn't really mind. He can make him more immediately. Then Nami has an idea. Immediately, Luffy decides to just make some swords with Nami's help, or Nami tells him to. And he made the bundle of swords. She says that we'll just sell swords to any island we go to that offers trade. So, yeah. So they're kind of just weapon brokers, if anything else. But yeah. Next up, also Sanji's still in the crew, by the way. He didn't really play an important role yet. Pause. So yeah. On the way up Reverse Mountain, they begin talking, having a little talk. And Luffy mentions that Usopp's slingshot could be longer to give him a wider range of motion, but also a farther shot. Because Usopp doesn't I have no way of making a new slingshot just yet. And Luffy would immediately make him Kabuto. Usopp takes it, and then Usopp also mentions his blueprints for the common attack. I forgot the name of that for a second. But Luffy also having some technical understanding of just engineering, because that's kind of what he's good at. He and Usopp also make the common attack that Nami has post time skip, the orange and white one. Just there's no Zeus. With Usopp's help, they create the orange and white common attack that Nami receives, and she uses it pretty effectively because it's not tricks, it's an actual common attack ability. So yeah, so I'd say she doesn't use it until Little Garden, and then she uses it again to get him Golden Week. So yeah. First, she probably would use it to get out of the giant wax cake thing. And then we have her getting out of that with getting the crew out of that with her climb attack. And then basically easily cut down by Zoro with Sanji's assistance as well. And Golden Week would paint on Luffy. But then Golden Week pretty much just one shot by Nami. So yeah. Whiskey Peak was honestly just the same arc as canon. There was just no Zoro versus Luffy because Zoro just knows he can't beat Luffy in a fight. But when the fight doesn't start, Zoro just immediately just I submit. That's kind of how it goes. So yeah. And then we go on to Whiskey Peak, Drum Island. And this arc is just the exact same. I don't see much difference as needed. But the fact that maybe Nami isn't sick, or if she isn't any warmth and treatment, Luffy is literally just a generator of heat, so that works. Then when it came to the monster animal rabbit things, Luffy just literally just one taps them with just one blast, and that's it. So yeah. So Sanji, if anything, would help Luffy a lot more, and Luffy doesn't even carry Sanji in his mouth. Even if he did, it wouldn't matter, because he wouldn't get hypothermia or frostbite or anything like that. He'd be pretty solid. So, yeah. Now with this, we go on probably more to just Luffy getting no chopper. Luffy wouldn't treat chopper as emergency food, as he just says. Well, he can create anything, and he hasn't tested out food yet, but who knows? Maybe he can. Which is pretty funny to Chopper. We show the Chopper's communication abilities. Chopper would actually want him to create a few things for medicine, or a few things to mold into medicine, and it works. Giving Luffy a bit of small understanding of, small understanding of pharmaceuticals, but also how to apply certain types of bandages. And Luffy learns that as well. After this, we go on to Walpole arriving with Chess and Kuromarimo. Sanji fights Kuromarimo. Luffy fights Walpole. Chopper fights Chess. Nami would also fight Chess with Chopper. So, yeah. So with this we have Sanji being able to basically just... Well, Kuromarimo would stick Sanji to the ground, and then he goes in for like a fatal blow. Sanji would be able to kind of just twist around at insane speeds, kicking Kuromarimo off of Jerome Island, or off the giant peak, sending him flying basically into a new blue. But Sanji would actually feel the spark of his Gabojamba as he trains really hard with someone like Luffy and Zoro, but also he's using the way he activated it the first time, which is spinning. Sanji felt the spark of that, which burned him out of Kuromarimo's hair. Luffy just kind of welded Walpole's mouth shut because it's steel and kind of just burned it shut, and then sent him flying back. So, yeah. Or sent him flying away. Then Nami basically just electrocuted Chess by just shocking his arrows. And then old Chess was stunned. Chopper hit him with the Clover Cross, sending him flying to a new blue as well, keeping Kuromarimo, Chess, and Walpole together as a trio. So, yeah. But Luffy, Nami, Luffy, Chopper, and Sanji leave. Dr. Green says goodbye to her adopted son Chopper, and their story pretty much goes the same until Alabasta. Now, I don't know where Alabasta really changed, to be honest. That's Crocodile not impaling Luffy. It's more like just a fight of equals temporarily. But then when it came down to I'd say the main difference would probably be Luffy versus Crocodile round 2. Also, there's two differences in fights. Two different fights would be Luffy versus Crocodile, and Nami versus Double Finger. Double Finger fighting Nami is different because Nami actually can fight pretty effectively, as Luffy had used staffs a lot during his time with Ace and Sabo. So he taught Nami how to use contact as a staff, but also he would teach her, but her contact is very straightforward, because she's already experienced with it, so she can beat her with electricity or anything like that. So Double Finger's beaten pretty quickly. Then Luffy versus Crocodile. Crocodile can't really land an attack on Luffy, but whenever he does, Luffy actually would hit him through electrocuting his hook. So yeah. So when his main attack would actually be when Crocodile about to clash, they both face through each other. But Luffy would just smirk as he coats his entire body in just electric plasma, striking Crocodile. With him not being able to do anything off reflex right now, Luffy would immediately just kind of go your second, shooting his arm forward at Crocodile, coating his fist in flames. As he would just yell, "Red Hawk." And there's really no hockey around it. Luffy's flames are kind of just part of his body, so they don't really harm him. Then he hits Crocodile, basically just sending him flying across Alabasta and knocking him out. Smoker arrested him. Luffy and Smoker both get the credit, but Luffy's bounty is higher because his Devil Fruit is so strong, giving Luffy an overall bounty of possibly, I would say, very similar to very similar to his. This bounty might be about 130 million, considering how strong the Devil Fruit is, but also how powerful he is in general. But I'm going to pause here for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more. Adios.